My name is Talia Monroe, and the day my younger brother walked across his high school graduation stage was the day I officially disappeared in my family's eyes. I was standing right there, clapping, smiling, even holding the camera. But in every photo, in every congratulatory hug, in every word spoken that day, it was like I didn't exist. And when the big surprise came, a sleek, midnight blue BMW with a giant red bow, I finally understood. I wasn't just invisible. I was irrelevant. It's not like I was some disappointment. I had graduated the year before, a full year early, in fact, with top honors and a scholarship to the State University's business program. I worked part-time at a bookstore, tutored underclassmen, and even won a regional entrepreneurship award. But my parents? They were too busy saving up for Travis. My brother. The golden child. The charming screw-up who barely passed his finals and still got rewarded like he cured cancer. I'll never forget the look on his face when they handed him the keys. "For everything you've accomplished," my dad said proudly, clapping Travis on the back like he was a war hero. "We're so proud of you." My mom was already tearing up, holding her phone sideways to record him revving the engine like a celebrity. I stood there silent. No one turned to me. No one said a word. I felt like the wallpaper in the background of someone else's celebration. Later that night, I sat in my room staring at the only thing I'd received that day, a card. No money. No gift. Just a generic message from a distant aunt who remembered I'd graduated last year. My name wasn't mentioned at the dinner table. There was no "thank you for helping with the party planning." No recognition for setting the table, organizing chairs, or booking the rental space. I was just the girl who got things done, not the one who got celebrated. And that's when it hit me. They didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as support staff. Helpful. Reliable. Forgettable. I cried that night. Not loud sobs, I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing they'd gotten to me. But quiet, angry tears. The kind that burn. The kind that make promises. That night, I made myself one. They may ignore me now. But one day, they'll regret ever underestimating me. And I wasn't talking about some petty comeback. I was going to build something. Something they couldn't ignore. Something that would make them realize exactly who they'd pushed aside. And Travis? Well, he had no idea that the keys he was handed that day would eventually unlock a door he never wanted to walk through. Because one day, he'd be the one driving for me. But first, I had to start building. After graduation, I didn't take a vacation. There were no senior trips, no gap year adventures, no party photos on Instagram. While Travis was out cruising with his friends in his brand new BMW, I was working double shifts at the bookstore and tutoring high schoolers just to save a few $100s a month. Every dollar I made felt like a brick. Not much on its own, but I knew one day I'd build something strong enough to stand on. I just didn't know what yet. College classes started that fall. I took them seriously, almost obsessively. Intro to Business. Financial Principles. Consumer Psychology. While most students were distracted with dorm life and drama, I sat in the back of the lecture hall, laptop open, taking notes like my life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. That's when I met Professor Chin, an older, sharp-eyed woman who had once built and sold her own marketing firm in Chicago. She spoke like she knew what people would buy before they did. And more importantly, she saw me. "Ms. Monroe," she said after class one afternoon, "have you ever considered starting your own company?" I laughed, surprised. "With what?" "My student meal plan." She smiled, but her eyes didn't blink. "Ideas are cheap. Execution is currency." That line stayed with me. Meanwhile, life at home was strained. Travis came and went like he owned the place. Loud music. Late nights. Gas money from dad. Repairs paid by mom. I once asked if I could borrow the car for an internship interview. "It's Travis's gift," my mom replied, frowning like I was out of line. "We don't want anything to happen to it." Right. Heaven forbid their precious car serve anyone but the family prince. So I took the bus. Walked when I had to. Woke up at 5 a.m. to catch the only early route downtown. That internship? I got it. By winter break, I'd saved up just over $3,000. Not much, but enough for something small. Something real. I started sketching out a simple idea during long bus rides and bookstore breaks. A freelance booking platform for admin help, virtual assistants, scheduling, and social media content. The kind of work I had quietly done for years without recognition. The work that keeps small businesses running but rarely gets seen. I called it backbone, because that's what people like me were. The backbone of everything and everyone. When I pitched it to Professor Chin, she leaned back in her chair, eyebrows raised. You've got something here. Now you need to prove you can run it. I smiled. I had already been running things behind the scenes my whole life. They just hadn't noticed yet. Winter break came with its usual awkward tension. Travis returned from his gap semester like a celebrity visiting his humble hometown. He dropped into our kitchen with expensive headphones around his neck, tossing his car keys on the counter like he owned the place. Europe was sick, he said with his mouth full of cereal. I might take a full year off. It's like cultural exposure. Our parents nodded along like he was delivering a TED Talk. I said nothing, but I watched. Every excuse he gave, every plan he abandoned, they absorbed it like it was normal. Expected. Forgivable. Meanwhile, I was squeezing every spare second into building backbone. By January, the website was live, basic, clean, and fully functional. I spent my nights customizing service packages, pricing tiers, and writing copy for my landing pages. Early mornings were spent replying to forums, applying to pitch competitions, and cold messaging small business owners on LinkedIn. I got ignored a lot, laughed at a few times. But then, it happened. A boutique bakery from 3 towns over replied to my email. They were overwhelmed. No admin help. Couldn't keep up with orders, scheduling, or responding to social media comments. They said, "We don't really get how this works, but we're drowning. Can you help?" I wanted to scream from my rooftop. Instead, I wrote back professionally and booked my first client. That $200 a week felt like $1,000. I treated them like royalty. Built their workflow system, managed their inbox, scheduled content, tracked delivery logistics, and did it all between classes and shifts. 2 weeks later, the bakery referred me to a boutique florist. Then came a dog grooming service, a local author, a podcast startup. By March, I had 6 clients and I was drowning. In a good way. At dinner one evening, I was quietly typing away on my laptop while Travis loudly told a story about getting lost in Amsterdam. "You still doing that little admin thing?" he asked, smirking like it was a hobby I'd grow out of. "Yeah," I said, not looking up. "Just picked up a new client today." "Nice," he said with a dismissive laugh. "Guess someone's gotta schedule emails for a living." Mom chuckled softly like it was all cute. They didn't ask how much I was making. They didn't know I just invoiced more that week than Travis had ever earned in his life. That night, I hired my first virtual assistant. A college senior named Grace, who reminded me of myself, sharp, quiet, underestimated. I told her one thing. We work like no one sees us. But someday, everyone will. And we did. By the end of my freshman year, Backbone had grown from a solo side hustle into a real company, small, but organized. I had a team of 3 part-time assistants, monthly recurring clients, a modest yet steady cash flow. I wasn't rich, but I was independent. Meanwhile, Travis had officially taken time off from school, a vague pause that looked a lot like partying, sleeping till noon, and taking selfies with his car outside trendy cafes. It wasn't long before he started complaining about the maintenance costs. The brakes feel weird. Gas prices are insane. "Dad, can I borrow your card real quick?" Every few weeks, it was something new: insurance, a scratch on the bumper, a weird noise. And our parents? Still covering it all. "He's just figuring himself out," Mom would say. I watched silently as my brother burned through their time, their money, and their belief, without giving anything back. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I just wanted distance. Over the summer, I moved into a tiny studio apartment with peeling paint and a bathroom door that wouldn't fully shut. It was mine. No one helped me pack. No one offered to co-sign the lease. But for the first time, when I shut that crooked door behind me, I felt powerful. I kept my head down and focused. Backbone was now onboarding 2 new clients a month. I streamlined operations, hired a second project coordinator, and started reinvesting every extra dollar. I even bought a used car, a battered, off-white Toyota with no AC and a radio that only played one channel. It wasn't a BMW, but it was mine. One Friday evening, I pulled into my parents' driveway to drop off a gift, a small framed photo of me and my team from our first Backbone lunch, where we'd celebrated signing our 20th client. My mom opened the door, blinked at the picture, and said, "This is nice. Are these your coworkers?" "They work for me," I said, calmly. "I run the business." She gave me a polite smile, the kind people give children handing out lemonade. "That's lovely, Talia. Travis just applied for a modeling gig. He might get flown to LA. Of course he might." But then, the cracks began to show. One night, Travis posted on social media, "Anyone know of a part-time gig that pays well and won't kill my vibe?" The caption was LOL, but serious. I stared at that post for a long time. Even his friends were commenting things like, "Didn't your parents get you a car? Time to actually work, bro." The golden shine was wearing off. And for the first time, he knew it. By my sophomore fall, Backbone had grown into something real. Not flashy, not viral, but solid. We had 42 active clients, a waiting list, and monthly contracts that could finally pay my rent, food, and even a modest savings account. My team now included 4 part-time contractors, each one sharp, dedicated, and fueled by the same quiet hunger I had. We didn't take breaks to brag. We didn't flaunt our wins. We just worked. And slowly, people noticed. It started small. A professor mentioned my business model in a seminar. A local entrepreneur tagged me on LinkedIn. A small startup blog did a write-up. Backbone, the company that does the work no one sees. And then came the email. From a mid-sized marketing agency that had too many clients and too few hands. They wanted to outsource their administrative tasks, and they were willing to pay. This one contract would double my company's monthly revenue. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. "They think I'm big enough," I whispered. And suddenly, I was. Meanwhile, Travis was slipping. He still had the BMW, now scratched and dull. Still took mirror selfies. Still partied. But he'd started showing up to dinner quieter. One evening, I overheard him ask Dad, "Can I borrow 200? I'll pay you back next week." Dad sighed. "Travis, you said that last time." That one line? It rang in my ears like a bell tolling at a funeral. Not for Travis. For their belief in him. I didn't feel smug. I didn't smirk. I just remembered that moment from 2 years ago, him standing beside that shiny car, parents crying, me holding paper plates and feeling like a ghost. Now, I wasn't invisible. I was inevitable. A week later, I got a text from Travis. "Hey, random, but do you know anyone hiring? I need something flexible." I stared at my screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should I tell him? Should I say, "Funny you ask, I own a business now. Maybe I have a spot for you, as long as you don't mind taking orders from the girl who wasn't worth a gift card." But I didn't. Not yet. I was going to wait. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because he needed to want it. Travis didn't text me again for 2 weeks. In that time, Backbone officially became an LLC. I met with a local advisor, filed the paperwork, and opened a business bank account under my name. When I walked out of that tiny downtown office holding a certificate that read Talia Monroe, founder and owner, I cried in my car. The real kind. Not from sadness, but from that deep, sharp ache you feel when you realize you've done everything alone and survived anyway. It was mid-November when I saw it. An application. Not sent to me directly, but through the online portal on our website. One of my managers, Grace, flagged it for review. "New applicant for driver relay assistant," she said in her Slack message. "He's got delivery experience, good driving record, name's Travis Monroe." My mouse froze. It was him. My brother. Applying. To my company. Grace continued. "Seems professional. Actually overqualified for this position. Want me to move him to review?" My heart skipped, not from panic, but from the overwhelming surge of poetic irony. The same brother who once laughed at my admin thing had just applied to work for me. I stared at the screen, my cursor hovering over his name. Did he know it was my company? Backbone had grown. We had a small online presence now, a logo, a blog, even testimonials. My name was on the About page, but not in huge letters. Maybe he hadn't bothered looking. Or maybe he had. And this was his quiet way of asking for help, without admitting that's what he was doing. Either way, it was an opening. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I sent a message to my internal hiring team. Let's schedule an interview. I'll take this one personally. Grace replied with a thumbs-up emoji, probably assuming I wanted to evaluate a higher-level candidate. But really, I just wanted to see Travis's face when he logged onto the Zoom call. The interview was set for Thursday at 10 a.m. And when the screen loaded, there he was. Clean-shaven, hair combed back, wearing a button-down that still had a fold crease down the middle. He didn't recognize me at first. He was staring at the Backbone staffing backdrop I'd uploaded and glancing at the camera nervously. I unmuted myself. "Good morning, Travis." He blinked, then froze, then finally spoke. "Talia? Wait, you run this company?" I smiled. "I do." He looked like he'd just been slapped. Not in anger, more in confusion. Like the floor he thought was stable had suddenly tilted. I didn't know. I mean, I saw the name, but... It's okay, I said calmly. "Shall we continue with the interview?" He nodded slowly. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just about me hiring him. It was about him finally seeing who I really was. The interview lasted 17 minutes. I kept it professional, reviewing his resume, asking about past driving gigs, confirming availability. Travis answered everything politely, but his tone had shifted. There was no smugness. No charm. Just a quiet awkwardness, like he knew the past was sitting between us, unspoken but fully alive. "You're very qualified," I said toward the end. "But I have to ask, are you comfortable taking direction from someone younger? Especially someone you know personally?" His eyes flickered. "Yeah. I mean, if I get the job, I'll do what's needed. I'm trying to figure things out right now." Trying to figure things out. Those were the same words our parents used when justifying his laziness for years. But for the first time, he said them with humility, not entitlement. "Okay," I replied. "I'll send you a follow-up." After the call ended, I sat in silence for a long time. The moment should have felt triumphant. My brother, once handed luxury, now sat across a virtual desk, hoping I'd give him a shot. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt careful, because this wasn't just about a job. It was about control, respect, and the strange transformation that happens when the forgotten sibling becomes the one who holds the clipboard. 2 days later, I sent him the contract. Starting pay, shift schedule, terms of employment. Nothing special, nothing demeaning, just fair. He signed it that same afternoon. And just like that, Travis became one of my field contractors assigned to light courier tasks, picking up marketing materials from clients, dropping off time-sensitive packages, helping with errands that made our virtual assistants more efficient. He wasn't driving a BMW anymore. Now he was using his own gas for someone else's mission. We didn't talk about the past. Not once. Not the car. Not the parties. Not the graduation. It was all unsaid. But I could feel the weight of it in every shift report he submitted, every on-time delivery confirmation, every respectful message signed with "Thanks, T." He was doing the work. And, oddly, doing it well. A month passed. Then 2. My operations manager, Grace, pinged me in Slack one morning. "Your brother's actually one of our most reliable drivers now. He's even helped train 2 new hires. Thought you should know." I stared at the message. Something inside me shifted. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe it was something older, the fragile hope that we weren't doomed to repeat the hierarchy we were raised in. Maybe Travis was changing. And maybe, so was I. But there was still one moment left. One moment that would bring the past full circle. And it was coming, sooner than either of us expected. The invitation came by email, one of those overly cheerful digital flyers Mom had just discovered how to make. Family dinner for Dad's birthday. Let's all celebrate together, food, laughter, and love. It ended with a line that made me pause. Bring whoever you want. Travis will help with the setup. Travis. Helping. With setup. That was new. I hadn't seen my parents face to face in months. We texted here and there. Mom commented occasionally on my posts, usually with, "Wow. So proud of you, sweetie." Which always felt like she was just discovering I existed. But this dinner. Something in my gut told me it was going to be a moment. So I said yes. That Saturday, I pulled up to the house in my little Toyota, still the same beat-up model, but now detailed and well-maintained. It looked better than Travis's BMW, which sat parked under the oak tree, paint chipped and tires deflated. I stepped inside, and there he was. Travis, setting up folding chairs, carrying trays from the kitchen, quietly working without complaining or clowning around. When he saw me, he gave a simple nod. "Hey, Talia. You want water?" I blinked. "Sure. Thanks." He handed me a glass without fanfare. No ego. No grin. Just respect. The house slowly filled with family. Aunts, cousins, neighbors who still called me the quiet one. Mom flitted around, laughing too loud. Dad held court near the barbecue grill like he always did. But then came the moment. Dinner. We were seated around the long dining table when Uncle Darren, the one who always asked uncomfortable questions, pointed at me and said, "So, Talia, heard you're running some kind of company now? What's that about?" I opened my mouth, but Mom jumped in first. "Oh yes. It's a little business thing she does online. Admin services and emails, right, honey?" I stared at her. "It's called Backbone," I said calmly. "We manage remote administrative operations for over 60 businesses nationwide. I have 5 team members and 2 division leads. I started it in college." The room quieted. Even Dad looked surprised. Then Travis spoke. "It's actually legit. She gave me a job last year. Solid structure. Best onboarding I've had." Everyone turned to him. Mom's fork hovered in the air. "Wait, you work for Talia?" she asked slowly. Travis nodded. "No shame." "Yep. Part-time ops and logistics. It helped me get back on my feet." A ripple ran through the table. Aunt Lisa leaned forward. "So the business is real? And it's hers?" Travis chuckled. "She built it from nothing." I used to tease her. Guess who's laughing now? I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I just sat quietly, fork in hand, shoulders relaxed, finally being seen without having to raise my voice. They knew now. Not because I told them. Because he did. After that dinner, everything changed. Not instantly. Not dramatically. But quietly, like a shift in weather you only notice after stepping outside. The next morning, I received a text from Dad. "Proud of you, kid. Didn't realize how much you'd built. Let's grab lunch sometime." He'd never sent a message like that before. And my mom? She started tagging me in articles about young female entrepreneurs. Baby steps, I guessed. But the biggest change came from Travis. A week later, he asked for a formal meeting. "Can we talk about Backbone?" he said. "I have some ideas. Maybe ways we could expand the delivery coordination." We sat at a cafe, laptops open, just 2 colleagues brainstorming. He wasn't trying to impress me. He wasn't apologizing either. But somewhere between his suggestions and my notes, he said something that caught me off guard. "You know, I always thought you were just trying to prove something. To them. Wasn't I?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, but maybe we're just proving what you already knew. That you didn't need them to see you to be great." That was the closest thing to an apology I would get from Travis. And it was enough. By the end of the meeting, I offered him a formal promotion, logistics coordinator, part-time with benefits. It wasn't just a handout. He'd earned it. He blinked at the offer letter. "You serious?" "I don't hand out cars," I said, smiling. "I give opportunities. What you do with it, that's on you." He grinned. "Deal." When I got home that night, I looked at an old photo tucked into my desk drawer. Me at 18. Graduation cap tilted, holding a cheap diploma folder while Travis beamed beside the BMW. My parents in the background, arms wrapped around him. I flipped it over. On the back, I wrote in pen. They gave him the keys. I built the road. 6 months later, I got the email. It came from a regional business network, one that featured rising entrepreneurs under 30. Talia Monroe, we'd be honored to recognize you as our Entrepreneur Spotlight at this year's annual gala. They wanted a speech, a feature article, a stage. I said yes. The night of the event, I walked into the ballroom wearing a deep navy pantsuit and the confidence of someone who'd been overlooked for too long and no longer needed permission to shine. Travis arrived first, wearing a tie for the first time since prom. "You look like a CEO," he whispered, shaking his head. "Scratch that, you're one." Then came my parents. I didn't ask them to come. Travis had invited them. Mom held a bouquet. Dad looked nervous. They hugged me, gently, awkwardly. The kind of hug you give someone you're still learning how to love properly. The keynote speaker wrapped up and my name was called. I stepped up, smiled, adjusted the mic. They say success is the best revenge. But I disagree, I began. Success is the best reminder that your value doesn't vanish when others fail to see it. I spoke about backbone, about quiet ambition, about what it means to be ignored but never invisible. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. When I looked into the crowd, I saw my mother wipe her eyes. Afterward, as people mingled and congratulated me, Dad pulled me aside. "I don't think we realized what you were building," he said, voice low. "You didn't have to," I replied. "I did." He nodded, swallowing thickly. We were wrong. It wasn't an excuse, just an admission. And for the first time in years, it felt like enough. Later, as the night wound down, Travis and I stood in the parking lot. He looked over at my car, still the same reliable Toyota. "Think you'll ever trade up?" he joked. I could have months ago, I smirked. But this car reminds me where I started. Every mile meant something. He smiled. "Well, in case you ever do, I know a guy who drives for your company. He can take it off your hands." We both laughed. Because we'd lived it. And we'd both changed. As I pulled away from the curb, I caught one last look in the rearview mirror. My brother, my parents, my past, all standing outside a building that had just honored the daughter they once called too independent. I didn't need their recognition anymore, but I had it. And better yet, I had myself.